Another Power 5 coach has been fired, but this one does not come as a surprise to anybody. Bryan Harsin has been fired as the head coach at Auburn after less than 2 full seasons on the Plains. Harsin was just 9-12 in 21 games with the Tigers, guys. And like we said, this was not really a surprise to anybody. We had a feeling this was coming. This was really a matter of when, not if. We always knew Harsin was getting fired. He was on the hot seat coming into this year. Despite only being at Auburn for 1 season, they were ready to get rid of him. They were trying to get rid of him back in the offseason. It was honestly, for some, a surprise that he made it this long, made it all the way until practically November. But what a just wild run for Bryan Harsin, guys, and what a rough series of events, really, for Auburn in general. Last year it looked like Harsin would have been a decent hire. Started 6-2 with the Tigers, but then has been 3-10 since. 6-2 start last year, lost their last 5 games, including that heartbreaker to Alabama, and some think that had he been able to take down the Crimson Tide in that season finale, that Harsin would still have a job. But 3-10 since that 6-2 start. Auburn currently sits at 3-5 on the season. Their lone wins against Mercer, San Jose State, and barely beating Missouri. The Tigers have lost their last 3 games to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Arkansas, all by at least 14 points. So this was just kind of a dumpster fire situation for the Tigers, a firing that for many would believe has been long overdue. Auburn fans were not necessarily pleased with the Bryan Harsin hire to begin with. They certainly were not pleased with the way 2021 ended. They certainly have not been pleased with the way that 2022 has gone for an Auburn team that demands excellence, for an Auburn team and a program that expects to be contending for SEC titles, expects to be contending for national titles. Harsin was never going to be the guy to do that. Certainly proved that he was not the guy to do that. But now Auburn finds himself in a bad situation. They now owe Bryan Harsin $15 million. That's his buyout, $15 million. Then they've got to go find a good coach to hire after that. So $15 million buyout. Now we got to throw more money at another coach, whoever they decide to bring in. And we'll talk about that here shortly. But guys, look how bad this has been. In the last 687 days, so in less than 2 years, less than 2 full years, Auburn has paid $37 million in coaching buyouts. $37 million, an average of $54,900 per day since they fired Gus Malzahn. A firing that, for me, I believe never should have happened. Yes, things were kind of getting stagnant on the Plains under Gus Malzahn, but he was a guy that could still beat Nick Saban multiple times. Still had Auburn in the SEC championship back in 2017 where they lost to Georgia. Still had Auburn in the national championship back in 2013. Had them in the Sugar Bowl. And another year, he was consistently winning at Auburn. Maybe not to the standards they wanted, but he was winning. Never was truly a dumpster fire like we've seen now under Bryan Harsin. So now the question is this. An Auburn program that is now bringing in a new athletic director, an athletic director that is now going to have to make his first big decision quickly by hiring a good football coach. Who comes in for Bryan Harsin? Who will Auburn hire? Well, of course, anytime a coach gets fired, there's always lots of speculation. All these big names are being thrown out there, but who realistically could come to the Plains, and who could realistically come here and win? Well, the leading candidate for many is Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze over at Liberty has done extremely well with the Flames and was doing extremely well at Ole Miss before he got caught up in a little scandal there. But things have seemed to be different for Hugh Freeze. He seems as a person to have changed. He has done extremely well with the Flames. He knows how to win in the SEC. He knows how to recruit in the South. That would be a home run hire for Auburn if they could get him. However, Hugh Freeze just signed an 8-year contract to keep him at Liberty through 2030. It'll be interesting to see what kind of negotiations and what deals could be worked out there if Auburn decides to go with Freeze. They could also take a look at a guy like Matt Rule. That's a name that not many people are talking about, but the former Baylor head coach quickly turned around the Baylor program before jumping ship to the NFL, where he coached the Carolina Panthers. Did not last very long there. Some coaches just aren't cut out to be NFL coaches. Just ask Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, Bobby Petrino, multiple guys that have been great at the college ranks, could not cut it out at the NFL ranks. Matt Rule, a guy that could come in and start to turn Auburn around. Another guy that could be mentioned is Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator currently at Illinois. Many people believe Walters will jump ship and go somewhere further west, but this would be a great home run hire for Auburn if they could get him. Illinois owning the #1 defense in the country right now, Fighting Illini in the top 15. How about Jeff Grimes as well? The last guy we'll talk about here. Jeff Grimes was the offensive line coach at Auburn from 2009 to 2012, won that national championship with Gene Chizik and Cam Newton. He's a guy that right now is the offensive coordinator at Baylor, has bounced around at multiple different stops. BYU, Baylor, obviously was at Auburn back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, but he's a guy that has ties to the program, has ties there, knows how to recruit in the South, would not be the worst hire in the world. And then some people want to say Kevin Steele as well. But it'd be interesting to see if Auburn would go after Kevin Steele, a guy who many thought was going to get the job when Gus Malzahn was fired. Some say he was promised the job after Gus Malzahn was fired, didn't get it, but he is older, 64 years old. Would Auburn choose to get him there? I believe the Tigers are going to be looking for a guy to stay there long-term, not just to rebuild. Auburn, again, a program that is rich in history, rich in tradition, expects to win now. Steele might not be the guy to do that, considering his age and considering he might not be there that much longer. So this is a very bad situation if you're an Auburn fan. It's a good and bad thing, right? You're happy because you finally got rid of Bryan Harsin. Again, this firing was not a shock. It needed to happen. He was never going to win at Auburn. He was a, dare I say, bad hire, clearly. But now you are in a tough spot where you have to understand, who do we get? And are we going to run the risk of picking someone bad again? Are we going to get a bad coach? You know, Gus Malzahn was a good hire. Auburn was not pleased with him down the stretch. They got rid of him, despite beating Alabama multiple times, despite doing all those things that we mentioned, competing for SEC titles, winning the West a couple times, going to the national championship wasn't good enough. Bryan Harsin, they gave him less than 2 years, wasn't good enough. Whoever they hire, whether it's one of the candidates we mentioned or someone else, Auburn has to be a little bit patient with them. Has to be somewhat patient for them. Not many coaches can come in and start winning in year one, can go win the West in year one, can win a national championship in year one. You know, and Auburn seems to be to the point now where if they don't win the West by year two, they're going to fire you. What coach is going to come in and inherit that? What coach wants to come in and take over this horrible program in the sense of leadership? New leadership with a new AD, the boosters constantly are getting involved. Who wants to come take this over? Who wants to get involved with this? That's going to be the million-dollar question. Bryan Harsin is out. Now the question for him is, where does he go? Many think he could go to Arizona State, looking for a coach. Colorado, be a coach. Remember, Bryan Harsin was extremely successful at Boise State. He's familiar with the western region of the country. Going out to the Pac-12 would not be a bad place for him. Could maybe find himself going down to a group of five program, maybe somewhere like Arkansas State, where he coached in 2013. The Red Wolves 2-7 this year under Butch Jones, easily could be out by season's end. Harsin could make a return there where he won a Sun Belt championship back in 2013. He's going to get another coaching job, guys. Easily could be at a Colorado, Arizona State. He's good enough to me to get a Power 5 coaching job, which just never fit in the SEC. It was never a good fit at Auburn, never a good fit in the SEC. But that's the breaking news, guys. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. We knew it was a matter of when, not if. Bryan Harsin is out as head coach at Auburn. The Tigers 3-5 this year, 9-12 under his leadership. Now the question is this. The season's done for the Tigers. They're probably not going to go bowling. All attention is focused on next year and who the next head man will be on the Plains. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Make sure to go check those out. Take advantage of that, guys, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years. We want you to win with us and become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.